Alright, you guys, so it's next morning, Sunday. It's just about 10 a.m. So I've got to grab my keys so I can get in the shed. I've got to get the power washer. I want to wash the car. I at least want to power wash the transmission. Engine's still okay. I want to get the whole engine bay and the subframe again, get that all nice and clean, and go over some of this crap that's leaked out just to kind of clean up the driveway a little bit. But yeah, should be able to get the clutch all installed today. Get this unmarried clutch installed, new flywheel bolts, get it back together, and should at least be able to get it set back down into the engine bay and set in place. So that is the plan for today. So I'm gonna not waste any time. I'm gonna go to get the tools out. Well, first I'm gonna grab just the power washer and I'm gonna power wash. And then after I get done power washing, then I'll get tools and I'll start working on unmarrying the engine and trans and doing the clutch. So y'all give me just a little bit and I'll give you guys another update. So I've got the power washer out. I just went over the grain dam, went over the engine bay, just kind of cleaned it up a little bit. And then while I had it out, I went ahead and washed off the GXP as well. Got it looking good. They were both covered in dust and bird shit. So got them all nice and cleaned up. Now I got to grab some tools out of the shed so I can start unmarrying this engine and trans. And then we can get this old clutch off, the Bahnhof clutch, get it out of there, and get this new stage 4 clutch and pressure plate on there with the new ARP flywheel bolts. So I'm going to go ahead and grab some tools and I'll give you guys another update. Alright, you guys, so I just got the impact with some sockets. I was able to get the rest of the bell housing bolts out, so now we're not held in. I should be able to just start pulling and wiggling this thing off of here. So I'm going to get this transmission removed and then I'll give you guys another update. Alright, y'all, and just like that, transmission is out. And as you can see, what I was saying about the slave is mounted internally inside the bell housing, and it just sticks through right there. And then the clutch, I guess when the slave busted, it must have been spraying brake fluid all over the clutch, so it's got crap all over it. But I can go ahead and get this unbolted. I have to reuse the pressure plate bolts, but I got brand new actual flywheel bolts that bolt the flywheel down right behind this clutch disc. So I guess I'm going to grab, I think that's a 14 mil socket. It might be a 9/16, but I'm going to go ahead and get this pressure plate removed, and we'll take a look at this clutch. Alright, so here's the clutch. It still looks brand new. Like I said, this probably had 10 miles of driving on this clutch. Pressure plate looks fine. Barely even anywhere on the disc. So that's definitely still good, but it's not going to hold up to the power of this. So there we go. Pressure plate, or the flywheel looks okay. A little bit of marks on it. Definitely probably got a little hot around the edges, but I'll get this cleaned up with some brake clean and wipe it down. And shouldn't have any oil or contaminants on it. And we'll just see how it turns out. So I guess I'm going to go ahead and get this cleaned up, and then I've got to get my other toolbox out of the shed with my Torx bits so I can remove these 3 Torx bits screws, and then I can pull the slave cylinder off of here. So you can definitely tell it got chewed up in there, and that's what made it leak. So alright, y'all, I'm going to get some stuff done and I'll give y'all another update. Alright, y'all, so just got the slave cylinder swapped out. I power washed in here first, and yeah, I went ahead and it's got these 3 bolts, and then this one here. These are a T27 Torx bit, so I was able to get all those removed, get this swapped out, brand new ones on there. And yeah, so now the trans is pretty much done. And then I brake cleaned off the flywheel and got it wiped down. got a bunch of crap off of it. So it definitely had some oil and grime on it. But yeah, so now I need to get the ARP flywheel bolts. They're in that box there. I guess I'm going to pull one of these out to compare it to the threads of the new ones. And if I can get one to fit, then I'll go ahead and do all. But if they're not the right thread, I'm just going to relock tight the one and put it back in. And that's just going to have to do for now. I really hope that's not the case. I hope they just work. But I guess we'll find out. So I'm going to get these brand new flywheel bolts. And yeah, the heads of those are a lot bigger. But I guess we'll see. So y'all stay tuned and I'll give you guys another update. That didn't take long. So I just pulled this one bolt out. It's a 14 mil. See how short they are compared to these. But yeah, the girth of these new bolts is like double or triple what this bolt is. So I would have to drill these out, tap it for the bigger size. These are not, I mean, unless from factory the cranks are drilled bigger already on a 3800 for the rear wheel drive manual cars. But yeah, this is not the correct bolts that I need. So I'm going to see if I can find some bolts the same thread and girth as this, but maybe a little longer. If I can put at least like 4 in there, then I'll just put some longer bolts. But yeah, I'm going to go look through the bolt bin and see what I can find, and I'll give you guys another update. Alright, y'all. Well, I went through the bolt bin over there, and all I could find was just more factory. Oh, wait, those are pressure plate. Yeah, so these are all the, I guess these would be flex plate bolts, not flywheel bolts. This is all that I could find. That is the same thread. It's the exact same thing that's in it. And then I found these couple of bolts. They're barely even longer, but they are the same thread, but they have this little notch. So I'm not sure if that's gonna make or break it. So I was like, screw it. I'll just Loctite this one and put it back in. Well, Loctited it, put it in, went to torque it down, and it snapped off. So had to get the drill bit and drill it out, and then use the reverse back out bit. That's this little kit here. Alden Grab It. Worked great. So it's got 2 different sides, and then I also use one of these tiny drill bits. These are very sharp. Will cut through red iron in metal steel buildings. And yeah, so I use that to drill the original hole, and then let's see. Yeah, so you use that to drill the original hole. Then you use this bit to kind of flare it out, and then you flip it over, and this is the side that actually bites and grabs and pulls it out. So I was able to get it back out, nothing in the hole. So I don't know if I'm gonna use another one of these factory flex plate bolts, or if I want to use a couple of these. These do have a smaller head on them, but they do fit right in the hole. And see, and that's just now catching threads. So I'm going to have that much biting room, clamping force on this one. So I don't know if that's what I want to do or not. I'm still kind of debating. It really sucks that the ARPs are the completely wrong bolt. But that was the part number that it said. Whenever I looked it up for the 3800 V6 Camaro or Firebird with the manual, this is what it told me to get. And this was on eBay, said it fit the car. So I don't know. This is a Camaro flywheel, or Camaro Firebird flywheel. So yeah, I don't think those bolts, I think they're too girthy to even fit through this hole. So there's no way that's the right part number. Someone's just selling bullshit on there. Or maybe it was for the V8 one Camaro, but it said 3800 V6. But I don't know, it's been like 6 months ago, a year ago that I bought them, so can't really do nothing about it now. But I've definitely got to figure out something for that hole, and then I guess I'm just going to put the new clutch on and just leave these as they are. It has been holding up, so I guess we'll just have to see how it goes. But I guess I'm going to spend a few minutes and debate on if I want to go with another factory bolt or use this one. I don't have money to go up and buy any, and even if I did, I don't have a way to get to the store. So yeah, I think I'm just gonna, I don't know, I'm probably gonna end up just going with another factory one, just because those are in there. They have been holding. I got the ARPs just as an insurance, just to be really double sure and triple sure that everything was going to be good and they're not going to like break and fall off and my flywheel go flying out and breaking shit. So, but yeah, I guess I'm going to debate for a few minutes and then I'll give you guys another update. Alright, you guys. Well, I messaged Terrell and I haven't heard back from him. And so I just decided to go ahead and use one of the longer bolts that I found, put some red Loctite on it, and sent it home. So now I just got to grab the torque wrench, torque it down, and hopefully that will be okay and will hold up. But it's a good thing, at least I was able to get the one I broke out, so that's a win. Happy about that. It sucks that the ARPs won't work, and I know there is a solution to drill them out and tap them for the bigger holes, but I'm just not on that kind of schedule right now. I don't have time for that, so I'm just gonna go over these, get the new clutch, get it on, and go from there. Now I'll give you guys another update. All right, so I got the disc looking good. Seems to be the exact same size as the old one. You can tell from the wear pattern and the flywheel, but it looks really good. So now I'm gonna grab this pressure plate, get that on there. I got my bolts right there. I'm also Loctiting those down, and yeah, we'll see how this thing fits. All right, well, it looks good. So we're getting all of them Loctited. Very last one fucking snapped. So now I've been drilling the pressure plate bolt out of the flywheel, and it's just not wanting to come out. So it is drilled, but I think the way the bolt broke, the pressure plate is holding it in. So means I'm gonna have to remove the pressure plate again. And I just Loctited all those bolts. But it is what it is. It's got to be done. So I'm going to remove the pressure plate, back off, try to get this bolt out, and I'll give you all another update. So, well, David showed up. He helped me. We finally got this other bolt out. It was a pain in the ass. I had to remove the pressure plate back off, but we finally got it. So was able to replace it. I've had this thread chaser or tap, and it just happened to be the right size for that hole. So worked out well, got all the crap out, was able to get this bolt in there. They're all Loctited again and tightened down. So there we go. Looking good. Hell yeah. So I guess now I can get the transmission and get it mated back up to the engine, and then pretty much ready to start setting it back in the car. So I guess I'm probably going to take a break for like 15 minutes, and because I smashed my finger just a minute ago tightening down those pressure plate bolts, and also I've been fighting this thing for like a good hour and a half just fucking with these broken bolts. So I'm going to take a break for a few, and I'll give you guys another update here in a bit. Alright, you guys, so we took our little break. David helped me. We got the transmission bolted back up to the engine. Got all 5 bell housing bolts in. So it was a little bit of a pain in the ass with the shifter bracket here. It was hitting the rear power log, but we got it in there. It all lined up. Everything seems to be working okay. So I guess we will just have to see how it goes once it's all back in the car. So I guess next thing, I've got to find the gasket for the oil filter housing. I'm not going to put it on yet because I have to wait till the engine's back in the car, then bolt it on. But I want to make sure I have the gasket and I have a brand new oil filter. And then I have to get some fresh oil for it so I can do an oil change on it. But other than that, clutch is done, pressure plate's on. Like I said earlier, I wasn't able to use the ARPs because they're just wrong. But I got the 2 bolts that I broke extracted, got them replaced. All bolts are Loctited, so we should be good. Fingers crossed, no more issues. And fingers crossed that this clutch actually holds up. But I guess we will find out. So I guess I'm gonna drain the oil and find this gasket, and I'll give you guys another update here in a bit. Alright, you guys, so we got everything is bolted back up. I went ahead and got the front mount bolted on. It uses bolts, and it's a pain in the ass. You got to run this ground through between the trans and this bracket, and then get it on the stud so everything sits how it wants to in the car. So I went ahead and did that with it out of the car. And this nub right here was kind of smashing the harness while it was in the car. See, where's that? Yeah, there it is. So I cut it off with the Sawzall, but it sits like right here under these brake lines, and the harness runs right through here, and it was like smashing the harness into this, I guess, frame rail piece. So I just wanted to cut that off. It was just a threaded bolt hole, and there's still more threads in there, and I didn't go too deep, so it's good. Still totally usable. Shouldn't leak. It just gave me that much more room for the harness to lay in there. So I think it's pretty much ready to go back into the car. So I'm gonna start. I already got all the tools moved out of the way. I got to get the water hose, and I want to flush out the radiator and the heater core, and maybe flush out the engine, just because there was kind of some gunky crap in there. And this is a brand spanking new radiator. It's only got 300 miles, and I just wiped all the sediment out of here earlier, and it was just gunk. It was real bad. Here, let's get this lower side. Yeah, it's just nasty gunk for being a brand new radiator. That's it's either come out of the heater core or out of that engine. So I'm thinking more the engine, because this was a pretty clean car and I never really had any issues with that until I got this engine block out of Noah's old Buick at the salvage yard. So I mean, I flushed it out, but I mean, I guess shit happens. But so I'm going to grab the water hose and go ahead and flush this out to get as much of the crap out as I can. And then it'll be ready to go back in the car. So I guess y'all stay tuned, and I'll give you guys another update. Alright, you guys. So it's been a little bit, but we finally got the engine and trans set back down into place. It was a bitch fighting this engine mount, trying to get it to line up and be in the right place. We just got the bolt to go all the way through and got the nut on. I've got to raise this side to put the transmission mount back on, but it is in there. The axles are both starting to go back into the transmission. I just need to lift it up, put the mount in, and it's pretty much in there. Then I got to do the rear mount and the exhaust, and then get the front mount back in. We had to pull the front mount off because it was hitting the radiator support, so we pulled it out of the way just to give us some extra clearance. So, but it is what it is. She's sitting down in there, and as you can see now where I cut that stub off right there, now I've got all this extra room. Before it was sticking out like half of this distance here. So that's awesome. I'm gonna give a lot more room for the harness in there now. And yeah, so I'm gonna keep working on this thing, and I'll give you guys another update here in a bit. Alright guys, she's back in. No cherry picker. Sitting on the trans mount and the engine mount. Got a bolt in this side and both the bolts and nuts on the other side. So she's sitting in there. I mean, she's still gonna be a little loose till I get the front and rear mount, but she is sitting in there on 2 mounts without the help of the cherry picker. New clutch and slave installed. So made lots of progress yesterday and today. So got a lot of help from David. Thank you, David. And yeah, I guess I'm gonna keep working on it. It's not quite dark yet, so I'm gonna keep working on this, try to get the rear mount and the front mount installed and get it sitting on all 4 mounts, and I'll give you guys another update here shortly. Alright y'all, well, I just got both of the axles popped back into place and got the strut to knuckle bolts on. They're not tightened down yet. I just got them in place, but both sides are in. So making really good progress. I think next thing I gotta do is I gotta reattach the exhaust and get the exhaust nuts and bolts on. And then after I get the exhaust, I can bolt in the rear mount and then bolt the actual mount to the rear part of the transmission that goes to the mount bracket. And that should be the rear mount. And then after that, I can bolt this front mount back on and then the front mount bracket. And then that should be all 4 mounts. And then I'm not running the dog bone anymore. I took the billet dog bone and I put it on the GXP just because it actually uses a shorter dog bone, and that was a shorter billet dog bone. So it just cleaned it up, made it look nicer, and it wasn't really being used that much. I just had self tappers going into here through the actual mount part, and whenever that front mount actually broke, then it was putting pressure on that and it just ripped the self tappers out. So it is what it is. It did look nice with it in here, but it's got 4 mounts, so that should, hopefully, fingers crossed, that should be plenty. But yeah, I'm gonna keep working on this thing, trying to get as much done as I can tonight, and I'll give you guys another update here shortly. Alright you guys, so we got everything picked up, got all the tools put away, and went ahead and, while the power washer was still out, just turned the water back on and power wash the driveway, try to get everything nice and clean so it'll dry up, and tomorrow morning in the daylight it should be all nice and dry with a nice clean surface so I can lay down there, don't have to worry about laying my head in oil or transmission fluid. So got everything all power washed and cleaned up, got everything stacked over here, the bumper, got the hood shut down. So I guess I'm gonna call it a night for tonight, go take a shower and change, and I'll catch you guys out here tomorrow in the daylight.